It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles and Alex White.
Good morning. It's Sports by the Book. I got to recover my eardrums. I'm Jeff Parles.
And I'm Alex White.
There's nothing to say to that. There's legitimately nothing to say to that. Sorry, Sean. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus like that. Or Caden, whichever one of the two of you in the corner that was on. What a way to start. Can we just start over? No, I'm joking.
Run it back.
Alex swooshing across the screen while barely alive here. Starting 5 to start us one off. What a start. What a start to the show today. Number one, let's start in the Bronx, though. The New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles, 2 games, 2 awesome games so far. Yankees made a big comeback, fall short in extra innings yesterday, 7-6 the final. Today, Rookie of the Year headliner Luis Gil gets the ball for the Yanks. Cole Irvin goes for the Orioles. That's a 4:05 local start there in the Bronx. Minus 143 behind us here at the South Point. For that one, Baltimore, 1.5 behind the Yankees beginning the day.
Very close race between these two now. And for number 2, we're staying in the AL, top of the Central versus top of the West. Luis Castillo and the Mariners, a small $1.14 favorite versus the Cleveland Guardians and Logan Taylor Allen. Guardians shut out Seattle yesterday, 8-0. Total in this second game is 8.5. Mariners now 8-2 in their last 10 games.
Quietly hot Seattle. Very quiet in this run, and have really taken over the AL West in the meantime. Number 3, we're about to be underway in Germany with England, who closed between $1.40 and $1.50, laying a half a goal against the Danes. See if Denmark can be great there today. But the big matchup coming later in the day, Group B winner, if there is a winner between Italy and Spain, they'll have complete control of Group B. Spain, a minus 125 favorite in that one against the Italians. If you're laying a half a goal with Spain, you are laying that price.
A lot going on during the show, so maybe we'll have some in-game bets here, because number 4, 2 WNBA games on the board today. Of course, we have the Sparks without Cameron Brink in New York. Liberty coming off a loss to the Mercury, and you have to lay 14 if you like them in that one. But a game about to start as well. The Dallas Wings in Chicago taking on the Sky. A lot of movement in this one. I think we finally settled in here at about -4, -4.5 here at the South Point for the Sky at home.
Say it's at 9 a.m., 11 a.m. local time tip in Chicago. Sure, why not? That one's just about to get underway. And then number 5, a little bit of things going on over there in Connecticut at the Travelers. They're underway. Ashka Batia's your leader right now at 6 under. Taylor Pendrith also just tied for the lead as well. Ricky Fowler. How about Ricky Fowler? 4 under right now. Early goings there in TPC River. Highlands there in Connecticut. And then as well, our NFL previews continue. We continue in the NFC East. We were not particularly high. Well, at least I wasn't particularly high on the Giants. You were a little higher on them than I was. We go to the Eagles, who melted down like the Wicked Witch of the West at the end of last year. And then, of course, the Washington Commanders, who have a new head coach and a new quarterback. So that's coming up at 9:30 today, so be on the lookout for that.
A lot of changes within those two teams, especially on the defensive side.
Coordinators
and the
shifting
coordinators,
in Philadelphia
of course,
as well. A lot to get to at 9:30 here on that. All right, let's go to the W real quick. Alex, I'll just bring this up. They already are underway in Chicago. It is the Wings and the Sky. Again, the Wings have just been battered with injuries this year. There are dogs in this game. They're close 4-point underdogs. 163 is the final total. Are you looking anything in-game potentially here for this matchup?
Well, we'll see how it starts off. I did jump in last night at 160. I went over that total, not really knowing if Enrique was playing, but she is supposed to play, and that is why the side has moved everywhere here. So if you can get a good number, I mean, there was a 6.5 out there at one point when they still were unsure if she was going or not. And we'll also look at the pace and keep track of that, because I think that 160 was way too low for these two teams. A lot depends on who is playing, though, for the Wings. But we'll keep an eye on it.
I will say, Enrique Gumbalale, who was one of the Olympic snubs when it was all said and done, of course, her amazing collegiate career at Notre Dame, and has been awesome in the W now for almost a half decade now, as wild as that may seem to some. I'll just throw this out there here because she didn't play in her last game. That's why the Wings were humongous underdogs against the Lynx. They actually covered the number, even though they lost by 12. I'm a little surprised she was only meant 2.5 points to the line. I thought she would have meant a little bit more with basically she's clearly their best player by a wide margin. I'm a little surprised that it was only a 2.5 point move when it was, hey, all right, she's going to play, and she is in there this morning.
I'll have to look up my numbers right now and see exactly what we had her worth. Yeah, 3 points.
Okay,
so fairly close.
Pretty close when it's all said and done on that.
A lot has to do with who is coming in behind them, right?
Of course.
But we know that Dallas has struggled with the depth, but they have done better than we expected without Sabali and Howard. So see if they can keep this one close. Not a lot of scoring. I
was going to say, great offensive start. 2-0, 2 minutes in. There at Wintrust in the city of Chicago. The other game, devastating news for rookie Cameron Brink. That came down yesterday, torn ACL. Her season is over. She'll end up missing the 3-on-3 Olympics. She was named to the American team, so pretty devastating injury for the rookie out of Stanford. So the Sparks will now go to New York. The Liberty, of course, coming off the loss in Phoenix 2 nights ago. Back home against the team that, again, the Sparks have been, I would say, a little bit better than I would have expected. I know it hasn't shown necessarily in the record, but I think they've been a little more feisty than we would have expected out of that roster, at least at the beginning of the year, Alex. But it is a gigantic line. It is. The Sparks have gotten bet, though. 15-14. Total, of course, naturally, as is usually the case in these WNBA games, bet up 164 to 165.5.
Huge adjustment to the line as well. She's worth a lot for a rookie, about 3 points because of who is coming in after her. So the Sparks don't really have a lot of defense and somebody in the middle there to stop the Liberty from scoring. And so I went over the first half at 81 between these two. Liberty, as I mentioned in the opening, coming off a loss to the Mercury. So expect a big performance from them. They're also still number 1 in offensive rating. And for good reason. They are clicking. The starting 5 looks very good. So as that total keeps creeping up, there is going to be a point where it is too high for these two. But I went first half.
First half, the angle.
And I mean, I think that 14 is okay too. I know you don't want to lay double digits here, but I think they're going to cover that.
Well, 14 doesn't exist anymore because it legitimately just moved as we're talking. So I would not do 15, correct, Alex? No 15?
Yeah, we'll stop at 14,
okay.
14 and a half.
There's one 14 and a half out there. Is that okay? No, okay. I'm trying here. Again, that is 7 o'clock Eastern normal start time there at Barclays. Again, next week, Commissioner Cup final between the Lynx and the Liberty getting moved from the Barclays Center to UBS Arena in Belmont, just right next to Belmont Park, the home of the Islanders. Again, don't know why the WNBA just didn't move the game back a week. We'd known the NBA draft was going to be in Brooklyn for months and months and months and months on that date. Very strange stuff from the league offices, more so than anything. Also, I know this has nothing to do with it, but it is, on paper, the least interesting NBA draft that I can ever remember.
Yes.
So
it is.
very, very uninteresting stuff there in Brooklyn next week. All right. No hockey today. We'll have our thoughts tomorrow on the show. We'll have Colucci tomorrow as well, Dwayne Colucci on the show. That was a 1 out of 10 back there, guys. 1 out of 10 on that. We'll have his thoughts on the hockey as well, so we'll have our full breakdown on that. Nothing's really changed line-wise, so we'll hold off.
I think for the Conn Smythe, the McDavid is now $2, right? So it continues to move.
McDavid's change as of this morning. I saw $2 last night. I just want to double check.
Yes.
I just want to double check that we haven't had even more movement. It is right on $2. So again, the Oilers, almost a $3 dog in this series. McDavid, a $2 favorite to win the Conn Smythe, to be the first, potentially, again, Edmonton could come back and still win this series and be the second team ever, Stanley Cup final history, to come from 3-0 down. McDavid would just be the first one to win the Conn Smythe in a losing effort since 2003, as we've talked about. John Sebastian Giguère, the last one to do it.
And what he has done is incredible, right? And he is going for another one of Gretzky's records there. So you do have to take that into consideration. I don't know. I'm not an awards specialist here, so I don't really know what the chances are that they give it to him, but you would think pretty high regardless
well,
of
the
who
betting
wins.
market is telling you right now that it doesn't matter what the result that he's should win. Now, this market has been all over the map, and we talked about it a lot yesterday. This market has been all over the map in this series. Bobrovsky was as high as a $3 favorite after Game 3. You and I thought, oh, well, we said at the beginning of the series, that's pretty good now, and now Bob is all the way back to plus 750. And unless if Bob pitches a shutout in Game 6, I think they are going to give it to McDavid. Now, who knows? We could have some epic thing from Bobrovsky. Barkov could have a 2-goal night or something like that, and it changes. But remember, this is supposed to be a full postseason award.
Right.
Supposed to be. More times than not, it does play out like that, but that is just the one thing, more so than the NBA final MVP, more so than anything else. This is a full playoff award. So the voters, of course, know that, and we have to keep that in mind when we're handicapping it at this point.
Well, and when you're talking about breaking records, right, that is definitely going to be in the conversation with the voters.
Absolutely. By the way, the Hart Trophy for next year, the MVP of the league, is out as well. McDavid, shockingly enough, for next season, already your favorite to win the Hart Memorial Trophy next year, at 2-1 right now over at DK. All right, let's go to the Diamond, Alex White. This is a Thursday where we got a lot of day games here, a lot of traveling going on, a lot of those for us here on the West Coast, those 10 a.m. first pitch games, which is always a welcome sight to us when we're looking for something to watch during the day, even though I will say this. Normally, you got to watch punchlines every day anyway at noon to 1. Today, you're really going to want to watch it. Brian McCormick will tell you later in the show why, but you're definitely really going to want to watch punchlines, especially in that back end of the show here today. Picks at 12:36 as always as well. I want to just start off in Washington, Alex, where Mackenzie Gore is a pretty significant favorite, all things considered. Now, remember, this is one of those where, again, the Nats entering today are tied for the second wild card with the Cardinals, who somehow managed to lose 2 out of 3 in Miami during the week. Again, the books do not believe in Washington. We talked about this earlier in the week, where DK had the Nats to make the playoffs at 18-1. Today, they are now 13-1. They are so still $5 shorter, but when I look at the rest of the National League nonsense wild card race, the next team is Pittsburgh at 5-1.
Oh.
So you're still getting a pretty reasonable price compared to the rest of the teams in the market on Washington. Now, when we talked about it with Sammy P 2 days ago, I thought that 18-1 was ridiculous. I still think 13-1's a nice price, but I don't think it's as ridiculous. 1 in 13, the way I would look at it, of the Nats making the playoffs. And in this wild card race, yeah, they can make it 1 out of 13 times for sure. Minus 140 today, though, Alex, a little steep for me. I know it is a pitching advantage with Gore against Ryan Nelson, but plus 130, I think, is a pretty solid bet that you could make on the Arizona Diamondbacks here this afternoon.
I'm with you. I definitely think this is a little bit steep. And while they do have the starting pitcher advantage, better bullpen, the Diamondbacks definitely have the offensive advantage. They have Ryan Nelson going for them. I was going to look at his under strikeouts. 21 at-bats against the Nationals, just 2 strikeouts for him on the Diamondbacks side. But the market knows. His strikeout right now, 3.5 juice to the under, minus 129. And then Mackenzie Gore on the flip side, 19 most strikeouts in the league with 91 here, 10 strikeouts against the Marlins in 7 innings pitched, 7 against the Braves in 5 innings pitched. Bad outing against your Mets. Just 2 strikeouts, 4 walks, and 7 hits. But ultimately, he has been very consistent and pitched for at least an average of 6 innings. So that definitely just kept me off of this one. But lean to the Diamondbacks for me as well.
The other NL only games today, of course, Colorado and the Dodgers. That has been a weirdo series there at Coors.
Yes, it has.
Weirdo series, to say the very least. Last night, our over got there pretty handily, 7-6. Not much sweating on that. All of these games have gone over the total. And finally today, I think the books are properly adjusted with Garrett Stone and Ty Block, which is not a particularly good pitching matchup. And I think that's part of the reason that they actually adjusted properly here. Finally see a 12 here at Coors. Dodgers over $2 favorites. Ryan McCormick brought this up earlier in the week on Punchlines that the Rockies have actually played the Dodgers pretty well, even though the you look at the wins and losses, it may not show that way. This would only be a look to the Colorado Rockies here. Now, I hate betting sides at Coors. I hate it because it just, when you're dealing with that ballpark, there are too many factors that I feel like are out of, well, again, most factors are out of the bettor's control, but there's even more things that can go, quote unquote, wrong for your bets when you bet a side, because all it takes is one pitcher not having it and someone can put up 7 runs, plenty of crooked numbers in any innings, Alex. But it would be a lean to Colorado, and it would be a lean to over on the 12.
So that is an important thing to bring up here, because I was looking at Gavin Stone, his home road splits, and he's actually been better on the road this year. Just a 2.83 ERA. Opponent average just 2.22, 22 strikeouts in 28 innings pitched, but that could be affected here in Colorado. So nothing for me. I thought the Dodgers was the right side. I think that is priced correctly. I don't want to lay $2 though here when this has been a very competitive series, and we've got our only 4-game series. So I'm just gonna watch this one. Maybe there's a time to jump in if that total eventually goes down.
Tonight in Birmingham at Rickwood Field, just 2 days after we lost Willie Mays, the Giants and the Cardinals will play at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, the oldest stadium in the United States. Of course, historic stadium going back to the Negro Leagues and just the history of baseball at large here. The Cardinals will send Palante to the mound. Wind will go for the Giants. Minus 105 on both sides here, Alex. I can't do anything here. Now, the one question that I have is on the total. And we are dealing with a ballpark that we don't have much ballpark factor on here, if any. 8 on the opener, the total. Bet up a whole run to 9. Now, we have seen in the past a mixed bag when we've dealt with with fields that we don't have a lot of data on, Alex. I would just watch the game, see how the ball travels, go from there. That would be the way I'd look to play this one tonight in Birmingham.
I agree with you. And I do know that there is very small foul territory, whatever you want to do with that. Lightning is brand new. Infield grass is big league specs, but I'm with you. Not much I could do here. I almost wanted to just take the Giants out of principle and think that they'll have a big showing here today in this one against the Cardinals.
Cardinals, again, somehow lose 2 out of 3 to the Marlins. It can't, again, this NL wildcard race is such a mess that anything is in play at this point, Alex. But really the rule of thumb at this point for all these teams, when you see Miami and you see Colorado, and when you have your series against the White Sox as well, by the way, beat those teams.
Right.
You got to hammer the bad teams if you're going to stay in this the whole way. Realistically speaking, you can throw Oakland and the Angels as well, because every team gets a series against those teams as well. Those 5 teams, you better end up well over 500, because if not, in the end, you may pay for it, Alex.
No, you're definitely right. And looking at this next team, Milwaukee, this has been one that is really taking care of business. I can't remember the number, but I think it's about 4 series in a row now.
Milwaukee.
They have taken the series.
Milwaukee series, they, of course, take 2 out of 3 from the Angels, 2 out of 3 from the Reds, 2 out of 3 from the Brew Crew, from the Blue Jays, I should say. Brew Crew took 2 out of 3 from the Tigers, That's 4 in a row after they got swept by Philly. So nice little bounce back after having a problem with the best team in the National League.
And that is why they are sitting there at the top of their division as well. This is a tough game to handicap, though, because the total has kind of jumped all around here from 8.5 to 9. I went under that 9. I thought that was a good spot for those two, but not great pitchers on the mound, and especially for the Padres side. Adam Uzar, 7.82 ERA, but he has only pitched 12.2 innings so far, so we'll see how he does in this one.
I don't like either of these starters. Now, here's your problem. You're dealing with Petco, which we know is a predominant pitcher's park, maybe the best one in baseball at this rate. Market, again, there are some 9s, like you said. There's a lot of 8.5, -20 out there on the over. I think I would lean to the over in this game, even with the park factors obviously favoring pitchers. Wilson and Mazur, as you mentioned, neither of those guys particularly strong starting pitchers, would lean to the over on that one. Mazur has had some control issues of late as well.
It is important to bring up as well, terrible travel spot for the Padres. Milwaukee's coming from LA. They just played the Angels. On the flip side, we've got the Padres traveling all the way from Philadelphia here to host. So that's a lean to the Brewers as well here at even money.
Padres avoided going over on the East Coast with that win yesterday to avoid a 0-6. They go 1-5 between New York and Philadelphia. But
with Ranger Suarez on the mound.
Yeah, of all the days, right? Yeah. Of all the days. See, betting baseball can be a little bit weird, Alex, as we know. A game you mentioned in the starting 5, Seattle and Cleveland, battle of 2 first-place teams that I don't think a lot of people expected to be in these positions on June the 20th. Luis Castillo and Logan Allen, your pitching matchup there in Cleveland. This is total flip yet again. Second straight Castillo start. We've seen something like this. Last time Castillo got scratched.
Yes.
-115 on Seattle, all the way to +117 on the M's.
He's going for sure, right? Is there another chance? Because you're right. That's
a ginormous move. Mariners.
Both?
Yeah, Castillo's going.
Okay.
Yeah, Castillo's going. So.
Now, this is a confident under that I do have. I am under 8.5 between these two. I mean, both have been very good, especially in their last 3 starts. Castillo, 1.85 batting average from their opponents. That's the average. And Allen, 1.84. So, of course, his ERA over the course of the year is 5.3, 26 walks, and 69.2 innings pitched. But the Guardians averaging just 3.9 runs per game in their last 7 starts. And the Mariners have a nice little under trend here, 42-29. We know that it has been all about their pitching staff. So as long as Castillo is going, I do love this under.
8.5 to 8 behind us. So market is in agreement with you on that, Alex White. This would be a lean to Castillo at that price. A little bit surprised that we have seen the market be that aggressive on Cleveland here. I know Castillo's not been the same dude as he's been the past few years this year, but it's a pretty good price, especially when you're getting a solid 20 to 30 cents almost better on Castillo. Rays and Twins, Littell against Woods Richardson there in the Great White North. Twins have been bet, -120 to -132 now on Minnesota. Total still 8. Alex, I do not see a good angle on this game whatsoever.
I'm with you. The Twins took the first game 7-6, Rays 3-2 in 10 innings yesterday. Very even pitching matchup here today between these two. So I think that number is priced very good.
Pretty mediocre pitching matchup on the south side of Chicago. Flexen goes for the White Sox. Agrahetti goes for the Astros. Astros opened -172, got as low as -60. Now it's -170. White Sox +155. Total's been bet up a half run from 9 to 9.5. This would be an in-game look at the Astros if the price becomes good enough. Yesterday, I know they closed -115, small favorite in that game after being a dog most of the day, but they were up 1-0. They're only -150 live, and my whole thought process was once Crochet goes down, it's all right. It's probably lights out unless if the White Sox hit a 3-run homer, and the Astros ended up pretty well coasting to that victory last night.
I am in agreement, and I do think that 170 is warranted here with these two, but I don't want to lay it. The Astros have just been too inconsistent, so much better to get an in-game better price.
Royals and A's, Kansas City again. Not a good West Coast swing. Really not a good 2 weeks now. Of course, they lose 3 out of 4 to the Yankees, lose 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers, in danger of being swept today in Oakland, which cannot have if you're the Royals, even though a lot of people would probably be saying, hey, this is just regression to the mean for a team that played way above their heads for the first 2 months. I think that is a fair assessment, but here you go, Seth Lugo, who is a candidate that a lot of people want to fade because there are a lot of regression numbers in his statistics there, Alex. It's a minus 147 favorite today against Spence at the Coliseum. Total 7.5 on this one, Alex.
I don't love that price, but I do love this side. I do think that the Royals can take one here from the Athletics. Good spot for Seth Lugo, too. I mean, the Athletics have the second most strikeouts in the league, so this would be a good spot for him to throw his best stuff. Again, kind of like the Astros, I think we could probably get a better number in game for the Royals.
You know, the American League wildcard race, it's been kind of quiet because at least us on the show have had our eyes on the train wreck of the National League wildcard race. And then when we look at the AL, it's the Yankees and the Orioles. Who's going to win the division and who's going to get that first wild card and get stuck playing the best of 3 before having to play the winner of the American League East, more likely than not, in the division series. Manfred, you got to fix that format. I'm sorry.
Yes.
The Royals, only a game clear of the red-hot Boston Red Sox, who have won 5 in a row all of a sudden in the sweep of Toronto this week. How about that? That the Red Sox, who we all kind of discounted going into this season, good under, we thought, on the season win total going into the year. And the Red Sox are well in this race right now. By the way, we also thought the American League Central was going to be a train wreck, and they have 3 playoff teams right now.
It's amazing. Baseball is, it's tough. And it's really tough to especially look ahead and try and do future markets. So you're right now I am holding on to a Boston under. I've got the Angels under. That one is looking okay. I've got the Pirates over with, of course, the rest of the crew. And then I also have the Texas Rangers over. Let's see how they are now.
Below pace.
Okay.
Yeah. They're 6 games under right now at 34 and 40. The last game of the day, we teased it in the starting 5. Yankees, they're hosting the Orioles. Rubber match in the Bronx for the 2 best teams in the American League and arguably the 2 best teams in baseball. Irvin and Heel, your pitching matchup in this one. We expect Aaron Judge to play, even though there were some premium pitch hitting opportunities last night that we didn't see him against the Orioles. Minus 143 on the Yanks, up 8 cents from the overnights. 8.5 the total. It was juiced to the under. Now it's just flat 8.5. Alex, I would lean to the Yankees. This is a pretty significant size pitching advantage for the Yankees with Heel, who, yes, there will be a good time to fade him. I just don't think it's today. But I would lean to the Bronx Bombers. Don't love that I'm not getting the best of the price, but I think anything short of minus 145 is good on the Yankees. I
agree. I did jump in last night, minus 135 here on the Yankees. I'm still okay with that minus 143. Heel, very good, 2.03 ERA. Opponent batting average in their last 3 starts, 169, 13th most strikeouts right now in the league with 96. We know the Yankees definitely want to steal this series. They won the first one 4-2, lost yesterday 7-6. So I expect the Yankees to actually close this series out.
We are going to, I really hope we do get this as a divisional series. It's just so brutally stupid that these 2 teams would probably have to play each other in a best of 5 as opposed to a best of 7.
Right.
Which would then probably lead to us having a team in the ALCS that probably shouldn't be there. That will inevitably end up winning the World Series because that's how the baseball playoffs work at this point. More random than anything. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to the NFL. Our season preview continues. Philadelphia, Washington, you're both up today. We start with the Eagles when we get back. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
From the South Point Studio. The perfect blend of sports.
But I think the Niners are going to wear them down. Detroit Pistons lost their 36 games.
Comedy.
See over-under on that relationship lasting. I'm going to put mayo in the coffee.
Yes. I am beautiful. And a whole lot of Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Pittsburgh. Join Ryan McCormick.
That's at least 2 picks outside of our own in the first round next year. Oreo.
And host Frank Nicotero.
I look at the clock, I go, ah! Ah!
Watch Punchlines live at noon every weekday.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Jeff Parles, Alex White. Here as always, Sean Caden in the corner, Ryan McCormick is hard at work getting you ready for punchlines today. Bob Zaney comes up on the show later as well for punchlines. But as it is, Sean, you know what to do, buddy. Yes, you do. You're a smart guy. He's got to find it first, though, guys. Got to find it. There we go. So football on fire. Getting rolling. NFC East. We talked about the Cowboys. We talked about the New York Football Giants. Today, we continue in the NFC East because we have the shortened show tomorrow. Gone Racing. If you're here looking for Gone Racing, it's not today. It's tomorrow. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. is when we get rolling with Gone Racing. Alex and I will only be here for a half hour tomorrow morning. Get you ready for Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals of Friday in baseball. And Dwayne Colucci will join us as well tomorrow. Okay. We've turned the remote down on our guys in the back there, Alex. But we'll have that tomorrow. And then on Saturday, John Jansen will join us to give his overall thoughts on the division. And Alex and I will stack them up 1 through 4 on Saturday to get you all ready for the whole season.
I can't wait to hear his thoughts. I'm sure they'll be very unbiased.
I think they actually will.
Oh, very good.
They will. I think they will. Even though I can tell you right now who he's going to have winning the division right now. Speaking of Philadelphia, here are the Eagles. Started off here looking at what the Eagles, of course, last year, they had the best record in the NFL going into the month of December. And then Is it an insult to saying of the phrase the wheels fell off for what happened with the Eagles? Is that an insult even to that phrase with how bad it was for the month of December and on?
It's pretty light, yeah.
The Eagles beat the Buffalo Bills on November 26th to go to 10-1. They only won one more game the rest of the season. They beat the Giants on Christmas. They were fortunate to do so, and that was it. A 1-5 end to the regular season, just a beat-down loss at the hands of the Bucs in the playoffs as well. Just an embarrassing end to the season for the Eagles, where they had all these hopes. I know there were a lot of people that thought they were that last year's version of the Minnesota Vikings. They ended up being correct with the way that it all played out. There was question if Nick Sirianni would even stick around, Alex. And as we look at what they did to change the roster up this offseason a little bit, one of the big changes, as we expected, Brian Johnson is out as an offensive coordinator, as we expected.
Yep.
And Kellen Moore, now with Saquon Barkley at his disposal in the backfield, along with, of course, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith as your elite trio wide receiver quarterback. Kellen Moore, of course, takes over the offense now.
So very interesting thing, too. keep an eye out for is Keller Moore loves the hurry up quick offense. We've seen that with him in the past, and the Eagles tried a little bit last year, so I expect this to be a more of an over team. Very good roster, top to bottom, especially on the offensive side. We know that Jalen Hurts has plenty of weapons, as you mentioned, A.J. Brown leading the way there. I don't see I could be wrong. Saquon Barkley, one of the best running backs in the league, no doubt. But, last year we saw them look very good with Gainwell and Swift in that spot. So not a huge upgrade for the running position. But of course we do, as I mentioned, Brown, Smith, and then we have Dallas Goedert there in the tight end. Another interesting angle, Jeff, is maybe we're going more with Saquon rushing touchdowns. Look for his over and going less with Jalen Hurts in the push tush because we have no Jason Kelsey, of course, at center.
So I'm happy you brought up the tush push because, of course, Jason Kelsey retires. Cam Jurgens moves over from guard to center. Now, Tyler Steen will slide in and play that right guard. They actually kept the offensive line pretty well intact other than Kelsey. Mulata's still there. Lane Johnson's still there. Landon Dickerson, all still there. Big contract for Dickerson in the offseason as well. They're all still there. And that is something to at least look at. We can, at least to me, I still consider this unit, even though they are aging, even with Jurgens moving to center.
Yep.
I think it is a very nice size downgrade with Jurgens and Steen as opposed to Kelsey and Jurgens, even though Jurgens was a huge center prospect out of Nebraska when he got picked a few years ago. I'm curious to see if it is as effective, the tush push. Now, when your quarterback, even though he's not the biggest in stature, is one of the strongest quarterbacks in the league in Jalen Hurts, you still have the ability to run it. Barkley-wise, I think the one dimension that Barkley gives this offense that with last year is he's just a better pass catcher than those guys. And
as we talked about yesterday with the Giants losing him.
Exactly. And I think that for the Giants, I get why they didn't pay him. You don't want to pay running backs. Barkley's contract was pretty affordable, all things considered, but I get why the Giants still didn't want to pay him double-digit millions a year. I get it. But you look at this from the Eagle perspective, they really got in trouble last year when Hurts started throwing the ball all over the place, started turning the ball over. There's also a question of, was Jalen Hurts even healthy by the end of last year? Of course, he was nursing that knee injury that may have progressively gotten worse, and they just didn't say much about it throughout the year. So I'm curious to see with that. Also, new backup quarterback as well. Kenny Pickett comes over from Pittsburgh. Mariota goes down I-95 to Washington. We'll get to him a little bit later. So new backup quarterback there. Defensively speaking, Fletcher Cox hangs him up. He retires. Hassan Reddick, contract dispute, traded up I-95 to the Jets. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, after 1 year in Detroit, comes back to hone up the secondary. And then Bryce Huff, who was one of the best sack guys in limited action with the Jets. They only really played him in pass rushing downs. Gets a gigantic contract, about $17.5 million a year over 3 years. Comes over to Philadelphia. They are going to play him more than he played in New York. He's going to be asked to play more downs. I'm curious to see how new defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, who comes up from the Dolphins, handles this because, as we know, the Eagle defense was an abomination at the end of the year behind the inexplicable move to give Matt Patricia more power. He's not with the team anymore, which might be the best news of all for Eagle fans.
Fangio, a lot of experience in the NFL, of course, 33 seasons. Last year, looking at Miami's defense to kind of compare, 11th in yards allowed, 7th best in rush yards allowed, 15th in passing yards allowed. Compared to the Eagles, who were 26th in yards allowed in 2023, 11th in rushing, and 30th in passing. So hoping for a big upgrade here for their defense. Now, the thing is, they're very young. 4 of their 6 draft picks from Philadelphia were all on the defensive side of the ball, and they've been working on this, right? We had a 3rd-round pick in 2021. We had a round 1 pick, the 13th overall in Jordan Davis in 2022. So they've really been building this defense. The thing that is going to determine is just how well they mesh together, right? And the inexperience. But overall, I think they will be pretty good unit.
Again, with the Dolphin numbers from last year, they dealt with just a collection of injuries by the end of last year.
Yes, they did.
That was a defense the year before that was one of the worst in the NFL. And Fangio had them as a totally competent defense. I didn't think they were an elite defense by any stretch. But
11th in yards allowed. Yeah, it's pretty shocking when I looked it up.
Yeah, they were more than competent.
Yep.
Now, again, I know some people, and this is what we have to remember. Some guys are just built to be coordinators and are not head coaches. We know Fangio's tenure as Broncos head coach wasn't particularly good. Doesn't look as bad after the Hackett debacle, but different story for a different time. But Fangio, through his career, has been one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, if not the best at some points of his career. And he is a massive upgrade over the fiasco that was last year, over Desai and Patricia there in Philadelphia. And I think that will really help Nick Sirianni be able to lean on his coordinators a little bit more, be able to trust his coordinators a little bit more.
Yes.
Remember, they lost both coordinators to head coaching jobs after they made the Super Bowl in the 2022 season.
Correct.
Jonathan Gannon, of course, went to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals were just a normal bad team as opposed to a historically bad team as the market thought they would be going into the year. And Shane Steichen lost his starting quarterback in week 3 and almost made the playoffs. So those guys are really good coaches. You just saw the downgrade where you had mediocre to bad coordinators and the Eagles imploded last year at the end. Now they have, to me, Fangio's a top 5 defensive coordinator. Moore's a top 10 offensive coordinator. This team I expect to improve. Now, does that mean necessarily that they'll improve record-wise? Because they won 11 games last year. It's just that the melt happened, and we really only remember that. I don't know. I don't know if they'll actually get better win-loss-wise, but I think they will be a much better football team than they were for the majority of last season, even with losing Jason Kelce on an offensive line. You look at their schedule. They, of course, Alex, open with that game in Brazil on the Friday night against Green Bay. I still don't know why the league sent such an important game down there for NFC playoff ramifications. The Eagles losing a home game against a potential playoff competitor in Green Bay, I wouldn't be happy if I was that, if we're the Eagles. Then they flip around and get to see Kirk Cousins on a primetime game yet again in Philadelphia for the 3rd consecutive year in week 2. And then they go back-to-back NFC South road games with New Orleans and Tampa. But then they have the week 5 bye. And I just ask you this from a handicapping perspective if we're looking at season-long things. You can put that schedule up there, Sean, for everyone to see. 10.5 on the Eagles for the win total. Does the early bye versus the late bye impact how you handicap anything, Alex, or does it not at all?
I think it should, right? I mean, I think that is really tough having that early bye and then just a bunch of tough games there at the end of the schedule, especially when we saw what happened last year. What about for you?
Well, with win totals, I would much rather see a team have a bye between week 8 and week 11. Those are usually the bye weeks that's like, all right, you're in a 17-game season, but if you play 7 in the front end and 10 in the back end, okay. I'd rather have more games in the front end of the schedule than the back end of the schedule, because I'd rather have this team be fresh by the end of the season. I mean, Philadelphia, I don't think the Eagles are going to be capable of getting the 1 seed. I don't see that. I don't think they'll get the 1 seed. I think the 1 seed is coming either from the NFC North or the NFC West. That's where I think the 1 seed's coming from. I think you can figure out the 3 possibilities with that right now without thinking too much. But the one thing with this Eagle team is you better get off to the good start. They're right now, depending on the book, they're either a small favorite or a pick against Green Bay, depending on the book. You're going to be favored against Atlanta. I would make them favored on the road in both of those next 2 games. I don't know what the books will end up doing with that. We have to see. Again, I know there's some numbers out there right now, but we have to see what happens those first 2 weeks of the season before really making any definitive statements. But you better get out at worst 2-2 in those 4 games. At worst 2-2. Where if you lose to Green Bay in Brazil in a neutral, okay, you better find a way to go 2-1 of those NFC South games. Even though the one thing with the NFC South this year, other than Carolina, who is the worst team in the NFL, I think by a pretty significant margin going into the year, those other 3 teams, there are arguments to be said, hey, if someone came to me and said, hey, the Saints are going to win 10, 11 games and make the playoffs, I don't agree with it, but I could see the argument. Same deal with Atlanta, who I think is the rightful division favorite, and the Bucks, who were in the playoffs a year ago. I don't know if Baker's capable of having another season like he did a year ago, but if Baker's close, Tampa could win 10 games again, or 9 games again and be over 500. But if the whole key to the operation for the Eagles, you get off to a good start, I would feel pretty good about them winning the division. Now, I don't love the price at even money. Shop around, find there's some plus 115s, some plus 120s out there. Do that, but not at even. I don't think that's the best. You got to find the best price if you're going to take the Eagles to win the division.
Definitely find the best price there. And I may be on a different side. I don't know if I have them winning this division yet, but we'll break that down more when we go through all 4 of them on Saturday. Very interesting looking at their strength of schedule. Completely different sites here. So tied for 21st hardest based on the wins last year.
Okay, then what about the season win total?
Season win totals for this year, 9th easiest.
Okay, so pretty much almost the same, because you said 21st hardest, right?
21st hardest.
Okay, so that translates to about the 11th or 12th easiest. So the 11th easiest it translates to. And you said the 9th easiest on the season win totals. So I don't really look at this. So just real quick on just how I handicap season wins and teams now. I don't really look at the strength of schedule number because teams just change so much in this day and age. But, and I got to give Warren Sharp some credit because he was one of the first ones to publicly do this. You look at those season win totals, that's the better gauge of how
I think
strong
so too.
These schedules are going to be. So, but it'll be
so if that's the case, 9th easiest schedule.
So they're pretty close though. 9th and 11th, not that far off from each other when you're dealing with that on the easy end. You said 21st hardest, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the 11th easiest. So there we go.
Yes.
My math is right there. But it'll be interesting to see with these Eagles, which is how you respond after last year's debacle at the end of the season. By the way, Jalen Hurts is 25-1 to win the MVP at the Superbook. A.J. Brown's 25-1 to be the offensive player of the year. I don't think Nick Sirianni will get any credit if they improve. I think the coordinators will. I would not bet 50-1 to win Coach of the Year. I just thought that was an interesting number, just how high it was. But when you think about it more, I don't think that's worthy of a bet. I don't think there's anyone in the awards categories that are worthy of a bet in the Philadelphia Eagles this year.
I don't either, especially because Jalen Hurts has so many weapons. A.J. Brown, of course, is an elite wide receiver, but he's got a lot of guys on that team.
Yeah, I think the only thing you can consider is, like, if you think Hurts is going to play at the level he played 2 years ago, you could make the argument for taking a Jalen Hurts flyer 25-1. You could make the argument for it. I just think there's too many guys in front of him at this point that are more likely to win the award, unless if the Eagles have a season like they did 2 years ago.
Right.
Remember, how many people expected them to be in the Super Bowl and be one pass interference call away, or one defensive hold away from getting the ball back in a 3-point game with a minute to go in the Super Bowl?
Well, thinking about it, and you may have this, but I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, go ahead.
When they had the most wins going into December, Jalen Hurts must have been in the conversation for MVP.
Well, you remember, and this was a big flashpoint on some betting shows that we listened to, and I know Sammy P, our friend, talked about this with the guys over at You Better You Bet. Jalen Hurts was, for a good chunk of the season last year, the betting favorite.
Okay.
And me included on this, I never thought he was winning the MVP because his numbers weren't particularly great, and the Eagles were just winning all these tight games. Now, I didn't expect the Eagles to basically become the second worst team in the NFL by the end of the season last year, but I never was buying, hey, Hurts should be the favorite. I thought if Hurts had won, it would have been a complete farce. Obviously, when it was all said and done, with Lamar winning his second one. Now, granted, I thought Lamar was a weaker MVP than we have seen in the past. I think there was again, when Mahomes has such a down regular season that he did, Allen didn't even have his best year last year as well. It was kind of a process of elimination. And of course, Baltimore destroyed San Francisco on a Christmas night game. Remember, Brock Purdy was, you were laying a price with Brock Purdy going into Christmas night last year in the MVP race. And
then, of
Lamar,
course, Tyreek Hill, we didn't.
Yeah, if Tyreek Hill didn't get hurt, that would have been a big what if, Alex, because remember, Tyreek got hurt at the beginning of December, and that was that.
Right.
But if Tyreek Hill never got hurt, he might have got there.
The more we're talking about it, the more I'm liking this 25-1, because I do expect a bounce back year for him. And if he is 100% healthy, which who knows? But you would hope to start the season. I think we could really see a good year from Jalen Hurts.
I don't mind darts. I really don't mind darts on guys who had down years. And this is, again, I don't remember what Burrow's number was, but I would look at Burrow as well as a potential one. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going on the other side. A few minutes on the Washington Commanders. When we get back, Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
Welcome back in, Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Jeff Parles, Alex White. Let's go over to the Washington Commanders here as their team number 4 in the division. They were the last place finishers a year ago. Totally new era in Washington. Ron Rivera out, not surprisingly, kind of probably took a few years too long to change course there in Washington. I know they had the ownership change on that. But Dan Quinn is in. Cliff Kingsbury is in. Jaden Daniels is in. They're in a new look era there in Washington, Alex.
And Adam Peters, of course, general manager. But yeah, it was time to do a reboot here for the Washington Commanders.
They also added Austin Eckler. Bobby Wagner comes over as well. Tyler Paris, the center from Dallas, comes over. Brissett and Howell out. Jacoby Brissett will likely be the week 1 starter in in New England. Sam Howell traded for a late round pick to Seattle, the more likely to not be the backup to Geno Smith. Curtis Samuel moves on as well, goes to Buffalo. Kendall Fuller in that secondary goes down to Miami. Nice little signing by the Dolphins. Jaden Daniels, let's just look at him real quick. Second overall pick, Heisman Trophy winner out of LSU. Plus 650 to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Alex, I think if you're looking to bet Jaden Daniels, Offensive Rookie of the Year, you probably got to do it before the season starts, because if the Commanders get out to a reasonable start, I'm not even saying they have to win many games. They just have to look competent, more so than anything. You can go with the Washington schedule real quick here, Sean, because those first 4 weeks, the draw's pretty good, all things considered, for Washington. They get Tampa, not the hardest of games, even though it is the defending division champion. The Giants at home, awesome. The Bengals on Monday night, yeah, that's not a great draw in the LSU Bowl. And then Arizona. So, yeah, for a team that's projected with a 6.5 win total, yeah, maybe not. There may not be a thing as such of a great draw, but I would feel pretty good if you had a Daniels plus 650 ticket with seeing that draw of the first 4 weeks potentially having a big first month and then having a way better ticket in your pocket than what the market tells you after a month.
Again, throwing a dart, I understand that, but I don't want to get too over our heads here with a rookie coming in. You just never know how it's going to go. You can't expect a rookie to lead you to a winning record in those first 4 weeks. I don't think it's going to be quite as smooth as everybody else does. I mean, Kingsbury's very interesting too, because I know he's probably a better coordinator than he is a head coach, but he had a similar setup here. They're kind of matching what they did with Arizona. I mean, he has an undersized, very mobile quarterback, just like he did with Kyler Murray. They bring in Ertz again. They've got the running back. They bring Eckler in. I don't know. I'm just not that sold on it yet. I need to see it happen more. Of course, we're probably going to see a big switch in pass last year. 64% only ran 36%. Dan Quinn, defensive-minded head coach here. I have a feeling that'll flip a little bit as well, maybe even out more with the league average, which the league average is run 44%, pass 56%. But Washington passed by far more than anybody.
Yeah, last year Eric Bieniemy went a little too pass happy, and again, Howell was bad. I know there's some people that think Howell might dethrone Geno in Seattle. Get out of here with that nonsense. Geno's going to be the starter week 1 in Seattle. I would have liked to have seen Washington actually retain Brissett as the veteran backup. They go with Marcus Mariota instead. That's fine. No, Mariota's always going to be in a content in that locker room, but I would have liked to have seen a little more of an effort. Now, granted, they were going to want to start Daniels from day one.
Well, Marcus Mariota, he doesn't want to start, does he?
Well,
He's very content being a backup.
Well, that's I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but yeah, I think Brissett is going to start week 1 in New England. I know people are trying to convince themselves that Drake May will start week 1. No, it's going to be Brissett at least for that first month. I don't think they're going to force May in there, especially with a really good option in Brissett, who I think is one of the 25 best quarterbacks in the NFL at this rate. But for Washington, look, the win total 6.5. Don't even look at the division. Don't even look at the conference. Don't even look at the Super Bowl. Don't bother. Save your money. They're not doing anything of that note. But the 6.5 win total is a little bit interesting. They come right in the middle on your winning percentage from last year. But they do come in the top half of easiest when it comes to season win totals, Alex.
Yes, they do. 13th easiest schedule based off of win totals for this year, and 16th easiest based off of opponents' win percentage from 2023. So still right there. But yeah, 13th easiest schedule, not terrible. It's hard when you're looking at these games. I mean, you can find 6, right? Just like I said with the Giants, and it's always that one. But juice to the over for a reason. I think the bookmakers are, and the bettors who have probably moved that, are on the right track.
Well, they're in the same boat as the Giants for me. If you told me Washington went 5-12, sure, absolutely. Daniel struggles to adjust to the NFL. Quinn and staff have problems adjusting to their own roster. Yeah, sure, I could see that. If you told me Washington went 7-10, 8-9, even Daniels right there neck and neck with Caleb Williams for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Yeah, I could see that. Again, these bottom teams in the NFC East, I think, are very similar to me in the way of, I don't see either of them spiking 10 wins and making the playoffs out of left field. I don't see that. But I could see both of these teams either being, hey, they're picking in the top 5 in the NFL draft next year again, or, hey, if I'm Dallas week 18 and I need that game, I don't love the fact that I'm seeing Jaden Daniels playing his best football in week 18. If I'm the Eagles, I don't want to see I'm not happy that I got the Giants in Week 18 when the Giants have lost a bunch of close games and are a solid 6-10 or a 7-9 team that with a couple of breaks could have been spiked 10 wins by accident.
I'm with you. I agree. I really do. I mean, I like the Giants defense more than at Washington. I do like what they have done with the offense, and we'll see how they all gel together. But it is tough. I mean, getting brand new head coach and new offensive coordinators, everything flips. It's hard. You don't want to overreact too much. And CJ Stroud ruined it for everybody because now everybody thinks every single rookie quarterback is going to come in here and be amazing right off the bat.
Well, again, last year we saw the two extremes in
yes,
the NFL.
we did.
We saw Stroud have the best rookie season ever for a quarterback, and we saw Bryce Young just be as bad as you can possibly ask for. Well, you're not asking for bad, but you get what I'm saying. Just a brutal. Young was brutal in every facet last year. So more likely than not, this year you'll see Daniels and Williams, at least those two. Again, I'm not convinced May's going to start right away. I know some may think McCarthy might start in front of Darnold. I don't see that either. I think we're going to see the veteran start in New England and Minnesota right away. But could Caleb Williams have a really good rookie season and just not be as good as Stroud was last year? Absolutely. I think that's in play for Daniels. Now, I don't expect any of these guys to be as bad as Bryce Young was a year ago. But with rookies, as you mentioned, hey, could happen. They could have a really hard time adjusting to the league, and they could look every bit as bad as Bryce Young did last year, where going into year 2, you would expect, a leap. And I don't think anyone expects a leap from Bryce Young because of how bad he looked.
I hope Carolina improves a little bit, Jeff.
Well, it's hard to be worse than they were.
Exactly.
It's hard to be worse than they were.
They've set the bar pretty low.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Of course, they have a new head coach. We'll get to the NFC South a little bit later in the month. But again, for Washington, if you're looking for a bet, I would only say, hey, Jaden Daniels, offensive rookie. That's the only thing I'd look at right now. Again, when we get to the Bears, I think Caleb Williams is going to run away with this award. But we know that quarterbacks have a nice little advantage built in here for the most part, especially when they're starting from game 1. But you have to at least be on the lookout. Of course, Stroud winning it a year ago. Garrett Wilson, though, a wide receiver, winning it 2 years ago. So, again, other positions can win offensive rookie other than quarterback more so than other awards. As we know, the MVP is almost exclusively a quarterback award at this point.
Excited for Saturday. We are going to break down and rank all 4 of these from this division. And also excited for Punchlines coming up at noon here. We'll get Ryan McCormick joining us, telling us what's coming up at noon.
If you want more Jeff Parles, come back at noon.
Who wants that?
He'll be joining us along with Bob Zaney, the comedian, towards the end of the show. But on the show, we'll be talking a good amount of sports stuff. Got some trivia for Jeff as well as Frank. And then you guys had mentioned the 1 seed coming from the NFC North, talking about Caleb Williams. The Bears are going to do it anyway. So come back at noon to watch Punchlines with Frank Nicotero. Yeah.
And Ryan's home run prop did hit yesterday.
Who did you have?
Stanton.
Nice.
Giancarlo Stanton.
Nice.
I also had the Yankees money line, which did not turn out.
But 1 out of 2 is fine.
I gave out the over in the Dodgers-Rockies game, though. So that was
no sweat.
Yeah.
No sweat whatsoever on that last
7
night.
runs in the first 2 innings. Yeah.
Hey, look, it's almost like runs come at Mile High, right?
Yeah.
Almost like that. Tomorrow, again, shortened program tomorrow. We're on for a half hour because Gone Racing moved from Thursday to Friday this week. So you'll see Brennan Gone, Jeff Motley at 10 a.m. tomorrow here on the network. We're for a half hour. Dwayne Colucci joins us. Game 6 of the Stanley Cup final preview. And then on Saturday, we'll wrap up the NFC East. We'll give what we project as our division finishes. And if we have any more bets that happen to pop up, we'll bring them up then, Alex.
And tomorrow will be quick, kind of like our best bets, just going through it. And of course, talk to Colucci, but with hockey, baseball slate, and WNBA.
Big card. The big card's on Saturday, I think, this week in the W, right? Pretty sure on that. But there are still some games tomorrow to go through. Of course, baseball will be a full slate. Yeah, 2 tomorrow, including Caitlin Clark tomorrow. And the Aces playing the best team in the WNBA by record tomorrow. So, by the way, Chelsea Gray coming back. Shocking. Aces look normal again. Stunning development there.
I think 1 point, but 7 assists. Really just the mental part of it.
So much better.
She just really helped
the
them.
offense just looked like itself again with Chelsea Gray back. All right, we're back tomorrow. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio, 9 a.m. tomorrow. We'll see you then.